Hello. Thank you. I'm Josh. I'm a software engineer. I work for Khan Academy. And today I'm going to be talking about renderless components. So the first thing I should do is I should apologize because I didn't realize how little time 5 minutes was. So I'm going to have to talk pretty fast and move even faster. I'm going to gloss over some things, but hopefully this will still make sense. So components. I think that when a lot of us think about React components, we kind of think about them as like supercharged template renderers, right? You have some kind of markup specified usually in JSX. You pass it data through props, and then you get like stuff painted to your screen. And I think that there's a lot of other things that React is really good at, and it's like lifecycle hooks, internal state, the fact that you can compose these components, and they're great not just for rendering UI, they're great for lots of things. So here's a basic example so that we're all talking about the same thing, a component that doesn't return any, or doesn't render anything. You'll see that it's a pure component, which means that this only re-renders when its props change. And all it does is it renders its props to the children, or rather it renders the children to the console and doesn't return anything. And so in practice, you'd use this with a little log component. And this is kind of neat because whenever your little user object changes, it logs it, but it doesn't log it all the other times this component renders. A more interesting example, hopefully this works. I have a text box, and I can type in it.
Hello, Paris.
And it says what I type. This is just the web speech API. I'm not doing any kind of voodoo magic. But it's a good example of something that can be done with React that you might not think of. So let's look at how this works. We have a dictation box. It has a single piece of state. It holds the message. There's a text area. Whenever you change the text area, it updates the state. And then, what's this? We have a speak component that takes the message. So let's see how this works. It has a language prop, which defaults to English. It also takes children. I'm going to be doing a bit of hand waving here because I don't have the time to go into the details of the web speech API, but this is it's how you use it. On mount, we have to do some async work to get the voices ready, and because we're a good Samaritan, we're going to do our cleanup before the component unmounts. This is how you actually do the little speak stuff, and then on render, we just call the speak method and return null. So this is kind of cool, right? It's not what you think of doing with a React component. And I think what makes this special and what makes it better than just having this in a helper method is that you get like if I had this bit of logic in a method, I'd still have to worry about doing this async stuff on mount. I'd still have to worry about doing the cleanup. But our dictation box component isn't concerned about any of this. So that's kind of neat. But then I realized I'm going to be here in Paris. You know, it would be cool if this speak component was bilingual. So I started thinking I don't think that they should be part of the same thing, because translation is a separate concern. So I thought, will it compose? That is the question. So here's our new and improved dictation box. It's pretty much the same. It has a target now. You can imagine this is like a toggle button group. You click on a different button, it changes the language. Whoops. And then here's the neat part. We have this translate component. It takes the source language, the target language of message. As children, it takes a function. If you haven't seen this pattern, it's made famous by React Motion. The idea is it's a way of having translate do this internal work and pass that on to its children. The thing to note is that our speak component hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same, but we're passing it a translated message. That translate implementation, I have a thin wrapper over the Google Translate API. We have a specific number of languages that we allow. That's used for props. Whenever the component receives new props, we send those props to Google to be translated. Once Google returns the translation, we set that to our state. We only update this component when we have a new translated message. So whenever it gets any other props, it's not doing anything until that translated message changes. And when it does change, we invoke our children function with that message. So let's see. If I write hello, Paris.
Hello, Paris.
But then I can click a button.
Bonjour, Paris.
It composes. So this is useful not just for web speech, right? This is kind of a novelty example, but this is great for event handlers. You can use it for non-DOM UI, like rendering to canvas, network requests. There's a bunch of cool things you can do with this, and I think that we haven't, as a community, explored them all that much. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention these two people, because they've done a lot more talking about this than I have. Ken Wheeler, everything that he does is awesome. And Ryan Florence, in particular, has a talk from React Rally last year where he talks about this idea in much more depth. Yeah, I have a repo. You can check this out in a little bit more detail. That's it.